Hello everybody, I'm Felix and I'm in Korea. Today we're making mead, specifically chocolate cherry mead. I'll be using locally sourced, well, it's from Turkey, but tart cherry juice. Don't use sweet cherry juice because apparently it starts tasting like cough syrup. Tart cherry juice is what you want. I'm also using cacao nibs for the chocolate flavor. And I'll be putting the cacao nibs in a large do-it-yourself tea bag, which you can get at fancy tea shops, I guess, rather than a normal brew bag because it's smaller and I don't want to take up a lot of space. So let's get started. First of all, I have already taken a lot of cherry juice out of packets. Hopefully that'll be enough. We will measure the sugars later on in the process to determine that. So, first of all, we need fermentation vessel. Okay. All has been sanitized with Star San, and most excellent sanitizer. It's no rinse. You don't need to worry about bubbles or anything. It will not harm the flavor or quality of your mead. So let's start. 3 pounds of honey. Turn it on. Not scale. Tear it out. It's teared. Let's go to pounds, okay. 3 pounds of honey. Now, a lot of brewers, mainly beer brewers, will say you've got to heat everything up, heat the water. You don't. Mead does not require such things. Just let it do its thing. So, let's get 3 pounds of honey in here. That's 2 pounds. Might have to dig into another bottle. No, I don't. Dang. 3 pounds and some dregs. Let's just let it sit a bit then. Because let's get it all out, might as well. Yeah. It won't be much more than 3 pounds regardless. So let's get the cacao nibs. They smell good. Into a tea bag. Which is not unusual for me. I'll be honest. I'm kind of messy sometimes. How much is that? A little bit more. That should be enough. So let's just go ahead and twist. And then tie it into a knot, and it'll be fine. I mean, I could put a rubber band on it, but I don't know about putting rubber into my fermentation. I mean, I really wouldn't expect anything weird to happen, but better safe than sorry. Here's our cacao nibs. Okay, put this away then. Okay, got my cacao nibs. 3.166 pounds. Good enough. I'll not throw that away because honey's honey and it is not cheap. General cost of honey for 1 gallon is like $15. I mean, you're getting several big bottles out of a gallon, so $15 is not super cheap at all. So let's start. So we've got my honey weighed, and let's just weigh the nibs just because I can. No, let's tear it out. 1.8 ounces. It'll be fine. it will be removed later on because I don't want it to stay forever. And I do want the chocolate flavor to be pronounced because it's chocolate cherry, not cherry with a hint of chocolate. I want it to be decent. So, I'm unsure of how much sugars, well, I am exactly sure of how much sugars in this is 65 bricks, which is a measurement of sugar, and that is a lot of sugar. So I will definitely be adding water in. But first of all, let's go ahead and just put this in. Yummy cherry juice. Okay, get that out of the way. Now I've got a extra long shoehorn that I turned into a mixing stick, and it has also incentivized with star sand. So do not be concerned about this. I'm gonna mix it in, mix that honey in. This does oxygenate the must a bit, not a lot. We'll be adding some extra oxygen in. You can do that by shaking the bejesus out of it, which works just fine, or using a air stone, which I have. You don't need it, it's just something I had, so I'm going to use it, which is reasonable, I suppose. So let's mix the honey in. Mix up that honey. Let's add in some water. If your water tastes good, you can use tap water. If it tastes bad, definitely don't. Just for the sake of purity, I like bottled water. Okay, mix. Mix. Now, how do I know how much sugar is in this must? I'm glad you asked. I've got a device called a hydrometer, which does exactly that. It measures the quantity of sugars in a must. It's a fairly simple process. You'll need to do it at least twice in the process. Once at the beginning, now. And once at the end, so you can actually calculate your ABV. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get a little pectic enzyme in. You don't really need it, but like I said, I've got it, so might as well. A little bit of pectic enzyme in there. What does it do, you ask? Thank you for asking. It helps clarification. It helps flavors come out of your fruit. I'm using juice, so it's not a big deal. Mainly it's for clarification because I like a nice clear mead. But don't let me convince you that clarity is the be-all and have-all of mead. It doesn't need to be. It can be perfectly delicious and unclear. So that's that. And let's put in the yeast nutrients. Some people are very picky about that, about not adding nutrients and whatnot, but why not give it the best chance at survival and flourishing that you can, right? Again, I had it, so we're using it. And this yeast nutrient is diammonium phosphate and food grade urea. It works really well. So let's just mix a little more. Mix. At the beginning of the process, oxygen is very necessary for the yeast to flourish. So stirring it up is awesome. Later in the process, not so much, because it could add off flavors to your mead, or it could cause oxidation, which would, technically it could turn your mead into vinegar, which is very hard to do with mead, but it is a possibility. So, hydrometer, sterilized. Put it in. Let's get below the level of bubbles because we don't want bubbles because it makes it harder to read. Let it drip against the wall so it fills that way. Get another batch. again. And it's floating. All right. Let's see what our reading is. So our initial reading is 1.12, which is really decent. 1.12. I'm happy with that. That's going to make, I don't know, 16%? I'll calculate it out later. 1.2? Is it truly 1.2? Let's spin these bubbles off. 1.2, straight up. So, let's write it on my board. 1.120 OG. Original gravity, not original gangster, but could be. Alright, so we're just going to put this back in. There's no need to throw it away. Some people are, well, you shouldn't put it back, but everything's been sterilized, and I'm not wasting this goodness. So, right to the line is good, but you know what? I want just a little bit more, because whenever you make mead, you lose some because of the lees at the bottom. Lees is the yeast and whatnot that falls out, precipitants. So just put a little bit more water. And one more packet of juice. Got one here. And then we'll recalculate the OG, because we should. Okay, so let's stir it up again. Okay, let's get another reading. Turkey baster is a brewer's best friend. Here in Korea, they're ridiculously expensive, so Amazon, what? Okay. So, did that change it? And if it did, how much? Bubbles. Suck them away. Okay. That dropped it to 1.11. Hey, I'm still good with that. 1.11 is just fine. So let's just change the board. No longer 1.12 or 1.11. Still an excellent beginning spot. So let's put it in there. Now you may be asking, why have I decided to bring it up to this point and not further or less? Because of headspace. There is air in there now, but during the fermentation, the air will be pushed out and it'll just be CO2, because that's what yeast makes. But okay, just gonna drop that in there. It will do its thing. So I've got the yeast nutrient in. I've got the pectic enzyme. The cacao nibs will have lots of tannins in it. Should anyway. Should. So that's ready to go. What does it need? It needs yeast. Otherwise, it won't go anywhere. Now, some people are of the feeling that you need to hydrate your yeast. Otherwise, it won't get a good start. That is nonsense. It works just as good either way. Perhaps starting a bit sooner, but not any huge amount. So let's put in half of a packet of yeast, which is generally what, because the packet of yeast is good for a 5-gallon batch. And I'm only making a 1 gallon, but let's put half a packet in. Half a packet. Half a packet. Because we do want a nice solid yeast colony. So, and I will put this in the fridge just because it helps it stay longer. And we will stir it up again. Sensation. Okay. And it is good to go. That is chocolate cherry must. Now, I got this fermentation vessel for $5 at a local Daiso. Again, you're not in Korea, you won't know what that means. It's like a dollar store, kind of, but you know, not a dollar. It comes with, you know, it's airtight. It's got a little seal in it. However, it doesn't have a hole in it. I had to drill that and put a grommet in. The grommet is going to, excuse me, the grommet is going to, you know what? Let's aerate it a bit. I did mention that, and that will help the air stone. Little portable air pump. Got it on wish.com for stupid cheap. Not a fan of them anymore, but at the time I was really in love with their stuff. So let's let that go. Just a few minutes. Oxygenate the heck out of it. And I will grab an airlock, which we will need. And I've got one pre-prepared. It is a 3-piece airlock. It's got a lid, a thing that is in here on top of that, which keeps the air from being direct, and it's filled with sanitizer water for sanitation reasons. And we will just sanitize it a little bit more, stick it in the top, and then as soon as the aeration is done, we'll seal it up, put it away, and we'll see you again soon. Now, I expect there will be no issues with this, but I will make a second video if there is, and there will be another video when it comes time to further the process. So, be looking forward to that. Have a nice day, guys. Felix from Korea, out.